Napoleon Hill, one of the most profoundly influential figures in the field of self-improvement, author of the book Think and Grow Rich, once said, "Intelligence has no limits except those we accept." A simple statement, yet it holds a mind-stirring power, because it touches upon a question humanity has pondered for thousands of years. Is intelligence innate, or is it something we can cultivate over time? From ancient times until now, humans have continuously sought to decipher this mystery. For intelligence is not just the ability to memorize or reason, but the lamp that illuminates perception, helping us understand the world clearly and deeply understand ourselves. But in an age where knowledge fits entirely in the palm of our hand, where we can search for everything in just a few seconds, a paradox seems to be unfolding. We know more than ever, yet we understand less about the very life we are living. The Stoic philosophers saw this thousands of years ago. They believed that intelligence is not a ready-made gift, but a process of internal cultivation. It does not come from books, but from stillness. It does not come from words, but from the ability to observe and self-reflect. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul takes on the color of its thoughts." If our thoughts are chaotic, our mind becomes a storm. But when we learn to quiet down, our thoughts become transparent, and wisdom begins to sprout. Therefore, this journey is not just about increasing intelligence, but about learning to expand awareness, clarify thinking, and awaken the wisdom within ourselves, in the spirit of the Stoic philosophers. I believe that if you truly pause and listen until the end, you will realize intelligence is not something out of reach, but lies right in the way you perceive every change, every moment in life. So don't skip any part of this journey, because each part will unlock a new perspective about yourself. Now, let's begin with the first lesson. Embrace change as a teacher. There are days when we open our eyes and realize the world around us has changed. People who were once with us leave. Familiar routines gradually disappear, and we stand at the crossroads of the unpredictable. The human instinct often fears change because it pulls us out of our comfort zone, forcing us to confront the unknown. But it is precisely in that moment that wisdom begins to grow. The Stoic philosophers viewed change as life's most patient teacher. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that every loss is but a form of change, and change is the natural joy of the universe. This quote, though seemingly simple, contains a profound truth. Every transition in life, be it a new job, a broken relationship, or an unexpected detour, carries within it a disguised lesson. If we only see the fear, we lose the opportunity to learn. But if we look with a curious eye, change becomes a mirror reflecting our own courage and ability to adapt. Recall the times in your life when you were forced to change, leaving a familiar place, starting over after failure, or facing a loss. In those moments, you didn't just learn how to live differently, you learned how to think differently, how to see the world differently. That is the wisdom forged through challenge, which comes not from books, but from the very flexibility of the mind when confronting impermanence. Therefore, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" When we stop resisting and start observing, change is no longer a threat, it becomes a silent teacher. Because every season in life brings its own unique lesson. As long as we are calm enough to accept it, every change, no matter how small, can become a piece that helps us become deeper and more clear-sighted. Number 2, embrace discomfort for growth. Most of us crave an easy life. We seek out the familiar, the routines that make us feel safe, and unconsciously build a soft buffer around ourselves. A place free of failure, free of hurt, and free of challenge. But ironically, it is this very ease that gradually weakens our minds. not because we lack ability, but because we have forgotten how to endure, forgotten how to grow. The Stoic philosophers believed that every discomfort carries within it a seed of wisdom. Epictetus once said, "The path to freedom always goes through discipline." And that discipline is not just a habit, but the mental strength to accept the uncomfortable, because they understood that no stability is born from ease. Think of the times you had to start over, learning a new skill, changing jobs, or facing uncertainty. Initially, there was awkwardness, tiredness, and even the desire to quit. But then, when you moved past that stage, you didn't just become better, you became stronger, clearer, and more confident in your very presence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. And that is the nature of discomfort. It is not a barrier, but a teacher testing our minds. When we change our perspective, difficulty is no longer something to avoid, but an opportunity to forge ourselves. Every time we overcome a challenge, we don't just become smarter. We are building a version of ourselves that is more stable, more self-mastered, and closer to true wisdom. Therefore, the next time you feel restless, anxious, or want to avoid something, when you are about to present an idea and fear judgment, when you are about to stop halfway because you fear failure, or when you feel you are not good enough to start something new, pause and take a deep breath. That is the moment your wisdom is being tested. Do not view discomfort as a sign to retreat, but as an invitation to grow. Because in the Stoic philosophy, discomfort is not the enemy of wisdom. It is the path leading to it. And if you dare to step forward, every adversity you face will no longer be a challenge, but a chance for you to be reborn, stronger, more persistent, and clearer than ever before. Number 3, practice of deliberate silence. There are moments when we talk too much, listen too much, think too much, and then realize that in all that clamorous noise, we have lost the most important sound, the voice of our own self. Today's world makes us believe that silence is weakness, a retreat, but for the Stoic philosophers, silence is the highest form of wisdom. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And deliberate silence is the space where we learn to distinguish between the two. Deliberate silence is not about ceasing communication, but a state of awareness where we temporarily stop reacting to listen to others, to the world, and to our own mind. Just as the surface of water only reflects the sky when it is still, our mind can only clearly see the truth when it is not rippled by external noises. Try to recall the last time you were in an argument. When the other person spoke, you were not truly listening. You were just waiting for your turn to counter. And in that moment, no one learned anything, because both were dominated by the noise of the ego. The Stoics believed that silence is the bridge between knowing and understanding. When we know how to stop speaking, we create space for wisdom to speak up. Practicing silence is not just for meditation sessions or peaceful breaks. It is an attitude toward life, knowing when to speak and when to stop. Sometimes being silent in the face of an insult is not weakness, but the strength of one who masters their emotions. Sometimes being silent amidst chaos is not avoidance, but a way to protect the inner clarity. Try to spend a few minutes every day in absolute stillness. No music, no devices, no words. At first, it might feel empty, but then you will realize, in that emptiness, the clearest thoughts begin to emerge. Because only when the mind settles down can we hear the whisper of wisdom. Silence is not a void, but the fertile ground where thought is revived. And when we learn to be silent deliberately, we don't just find peace, we also reach a deeper level of awareness, where true wisdom begins to speak. Number 4. Observe the world with curiosity, not judgment. When we begin to be silent, the world changes. Things that seem small suddenly become noticeable. The sound of the wind slipping through the window frame, the morning light through the window pane, or the warm smile on a loved one's face. Things that, before, we never paid attention to. We often observe life through the lens of prejudice. We label everything based on our memories, experiences, and desires. This is good, that is bad. This person is right, that person is wrong. We do not see the world as it is, we only see a version of the world filtered through our own minds. And it is this very judgment, like a thin layer of dust, that covers our capacity for understanding. The Stoic philosophers understood this well. Epictetus once said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their view of them." To observe with curiosity, not judgment, is to learn to look at life without rushing to assign meaning. It is like a child seeing a rainbow. They do not rush to analyze the light or the colors. They simply look and are amazed. Curiosity makes us open. Judgment makes us close. Curiosity teaches us to learn, while judgment keeps us trapped in our own perspective. Try to recall a time you met someone you initially disliked. Perhaps it was just their voice, their gaze, or a small detail. But when you chose to pause and listen to their story, everything you initially thought gradually dissolved. Because when we truly observe with an open mindset, we don't just understand others better, we also understand our own limitations. Practicing non-judgmental observation is not just an exercise in awareness, but also a form of healing. Because when we stop judging, we stop conflicting with the world. We begin to live in harmony, listening, and feeling everything more deeply. Therefore, the next time you are tempted to jump to a conclusion, slow your breathing and just observe. Observe without needing to immediately understand, without needing to categorize. Because when we learn to look with curiosity, the world becomes vast, and our mind also becomes more inclusive and clear-sighted. Number 5. Feed the mind through learning and reflection. Wisdom is like a garden. If left uncultivated, it will become barren. If you only sow seeds without tending to them, the plants will never bloom. The human mind is the same. It needs to be nourished by knowledge, people, experiences, and reflection. The Stoic philosophers always regarded learning as a lifelong journey. Epictetus once said, "Only the educated are truly free." But for him, education was not just about studying books, but the ability to learn from everything around us. Learning through books helps us broaden our vision. We connect with great minds, understanding the world beyond our own limited experience. Learning through people around us helps us expand our hearts. Every conversation is a door to a new perspective, a reminder that we never know everything. Learning new skills helps us expand our adaptability, because everything we don't know is an opportunity to cultivate patience and humility. And learning from mistakes helps us understand ourselves deeper, because sometimes failure is the most honest teacher, showing us what success cannot. Just as a garden needs various types of seeds, wisdom requires various sources of nourishment to grow: books, people, experience, and reflection. If we only read without practicing, knowledge loses its value. If we only live without reflecting, experiences pass by without leaving a trace. But when we simultaneously learn, live, and reflect, wisdom sprouts, flourishes, and spreads the light of true understanding. Seneca once advised, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it on worthless pursuits." Every week, try something new, learn a skill, listen to someone different, or write down what you learned from a failure. View every day as a classroom, every person as a book, and every mistake as a silent lecture. Nourishing the mind is not an act of one day, but the endeavor of a lifetime. Because only when we constantly learn and reflect will the inner light never fade. And wisdom, at that point, becomes the light guiding all our actions. Number 6, nourish the body, sharpen the mind. The body is the house of the mind. If the foundation is weak, the house cannot stand firm. The Stoics understood this very well. They viewed caring for the body not as indulgence, but as a form of discipline and respect for wisdom. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery begins with the simplest things: how we eat, how we sleep, how we move, and how we care for our energy every day. In our busy age, we often neglect the body. We stay up late, skip meals, curl up in a chair for hours in front of a screen, and reassure ourselves, "I need to finish this work, and then I will rest." But day after day passes, we get tired, our mind fades, and we fail to realize that the exhausted body is what is dragging our wisdom down. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Treat your body like a tool, neither pampering it too much nor neglecting it." That is the balanced spirit of the Stoic. They do not consider health to be the ultimate goal, but the foundation to serve a life that is clear-sighted and meaningful. When the body is healthy, the mind becomes sharp. When the body is sluggish, thought also becomes dull. A short morning run, a few minutes of stretching, or just a complete night's sleep can restore clarity of thought, because when blood flows, energy also flows, and clear-sightedness returns. But nourishing the body is not just about exercise. It is also about how we treat ourselves every day. It is eating in moderation. It is putting down the phone when night falls to allow the mind to rest. It is learning to stop when the body needs stillness and not when everything is already broken down. The Stoics considered taking care of the body an essential part of life, because when we live in an orderly body, our mind also becomes orderly. External discipline becomes internal freedom, and physical strength is not to prove anything to the world, but so that we can stand firm amidst our own storms. Therefore, respect the body as you respect the mind. Eat as if you are nourishing your wisdom. Sleep as if you are restoring your clarity. And exercise not to be better than others, but to become more steadfast, clear, and free within yourself. Number 7, know thyself, the Stoic root of intelligence. From ancient times, engraved on the temple of Apollo at Delphi was an immortal saying, "Know thyself." The Stoic philosophers regarded that as the root of all intelligence, because they believed that a person who has not understood themselves will forever be swept away by emotions, desires, and fears, like a ship sailing without a compass. Marcus Aurelius once wrote to himself in the pages of Meditations, "Do not allow your mind to be distracted from its purpose. When things around you are agitated, retire to yourself, where there is a spring of peace always waiting to be found." Knowing oneself is not an easy task. It requires us to dare to look into the dark corners of the soul, which hold everything we avoid: the fear of being hurt, pride, or the craving for recognition. But only by daring to confront them do we truly become free. The Stoics did not aim to eliminate emotions. They aimed to identify and master them. When angry, they asked themselves, where does this emotion come from? When hurt, they observe their own reaction instead of blaming others. And each time, they understand their mind a little more and learn how to choose tranquility instead of blind reaction. Knowing oneself also means distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. Epictetus taught that it is not everything that is up to us, but our reaction to everything is entirely our choice. A person who knows their limits is not weak, but a wise one, because they do not waste energy on the impossible. Try to spend a few minutes every day writing down your thoughts. No need for eloquence, just honesty. What preoccupied me today? How did I react to the difficulties? These very written words are the clearest mirror reflecting your inner self. And through that process, you will gradually realize every answer we seek in the world actually always lies within our own mind. Knowing oneself is not a destination, but a lifelong journey, because true wisdom does not come from knowing much, but from clearly seeing our own nature and living in harmony with it. At that point, we no longer need to control the world to be at peace, because we have found a world of peace right within ourselves. We have just gone through a long journey. 7 lessons, seemingly simple, yet hidden within them is an entire path of inner enlightenment. From learning how to embrace change, overcome discomfort, find stillness amidst chaos, observe the world with non-judgmental eyes, nourish the mind with knowledge and reflection, care for the body as the foundation of wisdom, and finally, return to know thyself. These things are not just theories or distant philosophies. They are the essential life skills that the Stoic philosophers practiced every day to keep the soul stable amidst life's changes. And perhaps, looking back, you will realize these are not just 7 lessons, but 7 practical principles that the Stoics lived, contemplated, and left behind for humanity. Wisdom, ultimately, is not something we have to go looking for. It has always been there, in how we observe, in how we react, in every smallest choice we make each day. But to see it, we need to learn how to settle down, feel, and look deeper into ourselves. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And when we nourish the mind with knowledge, with understanding and stillness, we are planting the seeds of peace, clarity, and freedom, the kind of wisdom no one can take away. If these insights have caused you to pause and reflect, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Who knows? Your story might touch another soul also on the journey to finding themselves. And if you wish to continue this path, the journey of learning how to find stillness amidst chaos and become clearer every day, please subscribe to the channel and continue walking with Stoic Journey. Because this journey, the journey of awakening the Stoic wisdom within each of us, has only just begun.